What's up, y'all? I'm Tim Leak, and when it comes to investing in real estate, I think everyone can agree that buy and hold long-term real estate investing is the cream of the crop, no matter if it's commercial investing or residential investing, if it's a single-family home or multifamily unit. The buy and hold strategy reigns supreme, and long-term is the best investment strategy that anyone can make. Just buy it and hold it, and you're almost always going to win in the end, as long as you do some things on your end. Upkeep, maintenance, selecting qualified tenants, keeping proper reserves, those sorts of things. But anyway, within the buy and hold investing strategy, there are a number of additional strategies that investors can have. And today, we're going to talk about two of the most popular methods with residential real estate investing, which is renting out by the room versus renting the entire house out. Which one of these investment strategies makes more sense? Is one better than the other? Well, we're about to compare the pros and cons of each and find out which one might be right for you, alright? Now let's get to it. Now, first things first, when comparing the two, let's talk about how you would go about acquiring a property with the intent of renting it out completely to just one family versus renting by the room. When renting by the room, you have more finance options when buying the property, mainly because you have the option of staying in one of the rooms while renting out the others, which is known as house hacking. This is a great option for those looking to hack their way into the world of real estate investing. You'll be able to receive rental income from multiple tenants, which will help cover your living expenses, and you'll be able to take advantage of a low down payment since you would be purchasing the property as a primary residence. So FHA, VA, and low down payment conventional loans are all on the table to finance your property. However, since it's a single family home, you won't be able to use the expected rental income from potential tenants to help qualify, like you can with multifamily properties. You'll have to qualify all on your own. So what this means is, whatever your income is, it has to be able to afford the mortgage payment without any help, as if you weren't renting any of the rooms out. Now, when it comes to a single family property that you want to rent out to just one family, since you won't be house hacking, which means you won't be moving into the property, then FHA, VA, and low down payment conventional loan options are off the table, unless you move into it for about a year or so and then move out and convert it into a rental, which, by the way, is a great strategy. I've done it and it helped me get my foot in the door. But if you don't plan on moving into it, then you can't use those loan options. Those are strictly for buying a primary residence. Now, you can still use a conventional loan, but you'll most likely have to put down at least 20%, and you'll still have to qualify, meaning along with the down payment money, you'll need consistent income and a decent credit score. However, there is a finance option that's available for investment properties that's not available for owner-occupied properties, and it's known as DSCR loans, which stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio loans. Now, my course members, y'all already know all about them. I have a detailed video on it, and I also give you access to my lender who offers DSCR loans. But for those who don't know, DSCR loans are loans strictly for investment purposes, where the rental income that the property is expected to generate is what's used to qualify for the loan. So they don't care too much about your personal income or your employment or your salary. They're more so focused on the deal itself. If it's a profitable deal above the lender's minimum requirement, then you're approved. This is a great option for those who might not qualify for a conventional loan through a traditional lender. However, with DSCR loans, you'll still need to put at least 20% down, and the interest rate is usually a little higher than traditional lenders. But that's a small price to pay to be able to qualify for a loan without even having a job. I mean, I've done it, and I wasn't even working at the time. I pretty much had no active income, and after expenses, that house is paying me over $800 a month. So, unlike a conventional loan where you'll have to put down 20% and yet still qualify, with a DSCR loan, you still need your down payment money, but the house is what qualifies, not so much you, which is a huge difference. So those are the options you have when it comes to financing a single family home, whether you want to rent it out completely or if it's owner occupied and you want to rent out bedrooms. Now let's talk about the rental income that each one can bring in. The money, the moolah, the cash. Let's talk about it. And it's pretty much a no-brainer. Renting by the bedroom usually will bring in more income than renting out the entire house. That's no surprise. Now, this ultimately will depend on how many bedrooms you have, but 9 times out of 10, it really doesn't matter. This strategy will bring in more money. For instance, I currently live in a 6-bedroom, 3-bathroom home in a great neighborhood. And if I rent this house out in its entirety, I can get around $3,500 a month. However, I can very well rent out each bedroom for $1,000 plus a month, and I can rent out the master bedroom for about $1,500. So I can bring in about $6,500 a month. Now, of course, that's assuming I'm at 100% occupancy, but even if I had 2 vacant bedrooms, I can still bring in more rental income than if I rented out the entire home to just one family. So that's a huge benefit that comes with renting out by the room, the potential amount of rental income that you can receive. Now, with that being said, even though you can make more money renting out by the room, there are also more hidden expenses for the landlord. When you rent a house out to one family, you can make them responsible for upkeeping the landscape, paying all the utilities, repairing any damages made. However, if you rent out by the bedroom to multiple tenants, usually the landlord is responsible for cutting the grass and upkeeping the landscape, paying all the utilities. And when something breaks in the common area or a shared space like a kitchen or bathroom, the landlord usually pays for it. So even though you're going to be bringing in more, you're definitely going to be spending more. So that's something that has to be taken into consideration. Now, something else to consider when renting out by the bedroom is going to require more work when it comes to managing. The simple fact that you have to screen and select multiple tenants rather than just one tenant is just the beginning. Having multiple strangers live in the same house under the same roof adds more potential to conflict and drama. And if 2 or more tenants have a dispute, then they're going to come to you with these issues. Now, I'm not saying that this will always be the case, but it's definitely a higher risk of it, as opposed to renting out to just one family who already are used to living with each other. The more people and personalities you have to deal with, then the more open you are to potential headaches, like tenant disputes, late payments, or possible evictions. And renting a bedroom is usually looked at as a temporary arrangement, so you'll possibly have to deal with more vacancies as well, which means more tenant screening and more work for you. However, these vacancy expenses are a lot less than vacancy expenses from those accumulated from renting out the entire house. When you rent the house to just one family, when the property is vacant, you're not receiving any additional income from that property. And all of those vacancy and turnover expenses fall on you. And you'll have to repaint, make repairs, make the mortgage and utility payments without receiving any income, market the property, and find a qualified tenant. All of this could be quite expensive. But when you rent by the room and a tenant leaves, you usually only have to repaint that room, if that. The common areas are usually already well maintained, and if you have other tenants, you'll still be receiving rental income from them. So the burden of bearing all of the vacancy expenses is not entirely on you. So even though you would have to deal with a lot more vacancies when renting by the room, the cost is not nearly as expensive than if you were renting the property out to one family. So as you can see, as you compare the two, they both have their benefits. Renting out by the room is a great way to increase your rental income. However, it's a lot to consider. Do you want to deal with all the work that's required in managing that type of situation? Or would you rather just rent the entire house out to one family, which still requires some work, but not as much? Even though that option brings in less money, it's a more passive investment. I think it all depends on what you want and what you're willing to deal with. I tend to like my investments as passive as possible, and even though I know I can bring in more money, I'd rather deal with one tenant per unit. And besides, I'm a huge advocate for Section 8 investing, and the Housing Authority won't let me live in one bedroom while I'm renting out the others, or rent separate bedrooms out to different individuals. So I can't rent by the room anyway. And even if they did, I have a big family. It's me, my wife, we have a bunch of kids, and it would just be total chaos. So my personal situation would make it very difficult. But that's not everyone's situation, so let me know what you guys would prefer. Is the additional rental income worth it to you, or are you like me and would prefer to just rent out the entire house? Or do you prefer both? If you're living in it, you can rent out rooms in that particular property, which may make it easier to manage since you're actually living there, but other properties you own, you may prefer to just rent out the entire properties. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Like always, can't wait to see you guys in the next video.